close till I get up. Time is barely on our side. I don't wanna waste what's left. The storms we chase are leading us, and love is all we'll ever trust. Yeah, no, I don't wanna waste what's left. And on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, till my shadow turns to sun rays. And on we'll go.
Guided transmission media. Guided media, which are those that provide a conduit from one device to another, include twisted pair cable, coaxial cable, and fiber optic cable. A signal traveling along any of these media is directed and contained by the physical limit of the medium. Twisted pair and coaxial cable use metallic copper conductors that accept and transport signal in the form of electric current, while optical fiber is a cable that accepts and transports signal in the form of light. The first cable is twisted pair cable. This cable is the most commonly used and is cheaper than others. It is lightweight, cheap, and can be installed easily, and they support many different networks. There are some important points about this cable. First is frequency range is from 0 to 3.5 kHz. The typical attenuation is from 0.2 decibel per kilometer or 1 kHz. And the typical delay is 50 microseconds per kilometer, and the repeater spacing is 2 km. A twisted pair consists of two conductors, normally copper, which is its own plastic insulator twisted together. One of these wires is used to carry signal to the receiver, and the other is used only at ground reference. The receiver uses the difference between the two in addition to the signal sent by the sender on one of the wires. Interference or noise and crosstalk may affect both wires and create unwanted signal. If the two wires are parallel, the effect of this unwanted signal is not the same in both wires because they are at different locations relative to the noise or crosstalk sources. This result is a different at the receiver. Okay, there are two types of twisted pair cable, which is unshielded twisted pair and shielded twisted pair. The unshielded twisted pair cable is a common type of telecommunication when compared with shielded twisted cable, which consists of two conductors, usually copper, each with its own color plastic insulator. Identification is the reason behind color. Unshielded twisted pair cable or UTP cables consists of 2 or 4 pair of twisted cable. Cable with 2 pair use RJ11 connectors and 4 pair cables use RJ45 connectors. Some advantage of unshielded twisted pair cable is install it easy, it's flexible, cheap, and its high speed capacity and 100-meter limit. Higher grades of UTP are used in LAN technologies in Ethernet. The disadvantages of unshielded twisted pair cable is bandwidth is low when compared with coaxial cable and provide less protection from interference.
Okay, the second thing is shielded twisted pair cable. This cable is a metal foil or branded mesh covering which encase each pair of insulated conductor. Electromagnetic noise penetrate is prevented by metal casing. Shielding also eliminates crosstalk. It has same attenuation as unshielded twisted pair. It has a far faster the unshielded and coaxial cable. It is more expensive than coaxial and unshielded twisted pair. The advantage of shielded twisted pair cable, they got 6 examples. The first one is easy to install. The second one is performance is accurate. The third is can be used for analog or digital transmission. The fourth one is increases the signaling rate. The higher capacity and unshielded twisted pair. The last one is eliminates crosstalk. Okay, the next thing is disadvantage of shielded twisted pair cable. They got 2 only. The first one is difficult to manufacture. The second thing is heavy. Okay, the third thing is performance of shielded twisted pair cable. One way to measure the performance of twisted pair cable is to compare attenuation versus frequency and distance. As shown as beside here, a twisted pair cable can pass a wide range of frequencies. However, with increased frequency, the attenuation measured in decibel per kilometer sharply increases with frequency above 100 kHz. Okay, the graph is shown at here. Okay, the last thing is application of shielded twisted pair cable. Okay, in telephone lines to provide voice and data channels. The DSL lines that are used by telephone companies to provide high data rate connection also use the high bandwidth capacity of UNSHIELD twisted pair cable. The second thing is local area network such as 10 base T and 100 base T also use twisted pair cable.
Coaxial cable. Coaxial is called by this name because it contains two conducts that are parallel to each other. Copper is used in this central conduct, which can be a solid wire or a standard one. It is surrounded by PVC insulation. A sheet which is encased is an outer conduct of metal foil, buried or box. Outer metallic wrapping is used as a shield against noise and as the second conductor, which completes the circuit. The outer conductor is also encased in insulating sheet. The outermost part is the plastic cover which protects the wool cable. Here the most common coaxial standards: 50 ohms RG7 or RG11 used with the Ethernet, 50 ohms RG58 used with in Ethernet, 75 ohm RG59 used with cable television, 63 ohm RG62 used with Ashnet. Coaxial cable standards. Coaxial cables are categorized by their radio government rating. Each RG number denotes a unique set of physical specifications, including the wire gauge of the inner conductor, the thickness and the type of the inner insulator, the construction of the shield, and the size and type of the outer casing. Each cable defined by an RG rating is adapted for a specific function as shown in the table.
There are three most popular types of these connectors. The first is BNC connectors, the second is the BNC-T connectors, and the BNC terminator. The BNC connector is used to connect the end of the cable to the device, such as a TV set. The BNC-T connectors is used in Ethernet network to branch out to a connector to a computer or other device. The BNC terminator is used at the end of the cable to prevent the reflection of the signal. There are two types of coaxial cables. First is baseband. This is a 50 ohm coaxial cable which is used for digital transmission. It's mostly used for LANs. Baseband transmission is a single signal at a time with very high speed. The major drawback is that it needs amplification after every 1,000 feet. The second is broadband. This is uses analog transmission and standard cable television cabling. It transmits several simultaneous signals using different frequencies. It covers large area when compared with baseband coaxial cable.
Advantage of coaxial cable: bandwidth is high, used in long distance telephone lines, transmit digital signal at a very high rate of 10 Mbps, much higher noise immunity. Disadvantage of coaxial cable: single cable, failure and fail the entire network, difficult to install and expensive when compared with twist pair. If the shield is imperfect, it can lead to grounded loop. Performance of coaxial cables: we can measure the performance of coaxial cables in same way as the twisted pair cables. From the below figure, it can be seen that the attenuation is much higher in coaxial cable than in twisted pair cable. In other words, outer coaxial cable has a much higher bandwidth. The signal weakens rapidly and requires the frequent use of repeaters.
Application of coaxial cables. Coaxial cables was widely used in analog telephone networks, where a signal coaxial network could marry 10,000 voice signal. Cable TV network also use coaxial cables. In the traditional cable TV network, the entire network use coaxial cable. Cable TV use RG59 coaxial cable.
Fiber optic cable. A fiber optic cable is made of glass or plastic and transmits signal in form of light. For better understanding, we first need to explore several aspects of the nature of light. Light travels in a straight line as long as it is moving to a single uniform substance. If a ray of light traveling through one substance suddenly enters another substance of a different density, the ray changes direction. The figure shows how a ray of light changes direction when going from a more dense to a less dense substance. Bending of a ray light. If the angle of incidence I, the angle that ray makes with the line perpendicular to the interface between the two substances, is less than the critical angle, the ray reflects and moves closer to the surface. If the angle of incidence is greater than the critical angle, the ray reflects, makes a turn, and travels again in the denser substance. If the angle of incidence is equal to the critical angle, the ray reflects and moves parallel to the surface as shown. Bending of a ray light. If the angle of incidence I, the angle that ray makes with the line perpendicular to the interface between the two substances, is less than the critical angle, the ray reflects and moves closer to the surface. If the angle of incidence is greater than the critical angle, the ray reflects, makes a turn, and travels again in the denser substance. If the angle of incidence is equal to the critical angle, the ray reflects and moves parallel to the surface as shown. Current technology supports two modes, multi-mode and single mode. For propagating light along the optical channel, each requiring fiber with different physical characteristics, multi-mode can be implemented into two forms, step index and grounded index. Fiber optic cable connectors. There are two types of the connectors for fiber optic cable. First is SC connectors, and second ST connectors and MTRJ connector. The subscriber channel SC connectors is used for TV cable. It uses push or pull locking system. The straight tip ST connectors is used for connecting cable to the networking devices. MTRJ is a connector that is the same size as RJ45. Advantages of fiber optics cable, which is higher bandwidth, less signal attenuation, immunity to electromagnetic interface, resistant to corrosive materials, lightweight, and greater immunity to tapping. Disadvantages of fiber optics cable, which is installation and maintenance, unidirectionally, light propagation, and high cost.
The performance of fiber optic cable. Attenuation is flatter than in the case of twisted pair cable and coaxial cable. The performance is such as we need fiber, actually one tip as many repeaters when we use the fiber optic cable. Okay, the second thing is application of fiber optic cable. Okay, first one is often found in backbone networks because its wide bandwidth is cost effective. The second thing is some cable TV companies use a combination of optical fiber cable, thus creating a hybrid network. The last thing is local network area, such as 100 base FX network and 1000 base X also use fiber optic cable.
Okay, next is unguided media. Unguided media transport electromagnetic wave without using a physical conductors. This type of communication is often referred to as wireless communication.
Radio waves are used for multicast communication such as radio and television and paging system. They can penetrate through walls. Highly regulated, use only directional antennas.
Okay, the third one is microwaves. Microwaves are used for unicast communication such as cellular telephones, satellite networks, and the third one is wireless LANs. Higher frequency ranges cannot penetrate walls. Use directional antennas, point-to-point line of sight communication.
Lastly, infrared signal. Infrared signal can be used for short-range communication in closed area using lines of sight propagation.